Hey third graders, welcome back to Social Studies. Today is Monday, May 11th. We'll be learning about social studies this week. We'll have 3 lessons. We'll have a lesson on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All 3 of these lessons will be posted on Monday. So here we go. Let's have a quick flashback of what we learned last week. Last week, we had another lesson about economy. We learned about the different types of resources that there are. We learned about natural resources, human or man-made resources, and capital resources. Take a second and think about the definition of those and an example of each. All right, let's move on. Let's go over our target for today. I can define the term trade. I can answer and ask questions about trading and bartering. So today, our goal is to learn about this word trade and answer and ask questions about trading and bartering. So later on, we'll be reading a part of a story to help us really understand what trading and bartering is. By the end of today, your goal is to be able to describe or define the term trade and answer questions about trading and bartering. So let's go through an introduction. This will help us get ready to think about trading and bartering. So, do you have a pet? Would you trade something for your pet? If someone gave you money for your pet, would you trade your pet for money? Would you trade your pet for food if you were hungry? Would you trade your pet for 5 beans? In the story we'll hear in our lesson, that is just what happens. I'm sure you're probably thinking about the story that we'll be reading, but stay tuned. So let's learn the difference between exchange and barter. An exchange involves trading goods and services for other goods and services or for money. A barter, however, does not involve the use of money. A barter is the direct trading of goods and services for other goods and services. A voluntary exchange occurs when all participating parties expect to gain. So if you wanted to trade someone at lunch a slice of pizza for their juice box, that is a voluntary exchange because both parties would be happy. This is also considered a barter because you're not using money for your trade. So everyone is happy with something that they want means it's a good trade or barter. So let's think of a real life example. If you want a new pair of shoes, how do you go about getting them? You have to exchange something for the shoes. Exchange means trade something for something else. So what would you trade the store clerk for the pair of shoes? Would you give the clerk money for the shoes? Could you trade a hamburger for a pair of shoes? Definitely not. So in this case, you would definitely probably have to use money to exchange it for the shoes. Let's think of a different example. If you wanted a pair of shoes that your sister or brother had, could you trade something with your sister or brother for the shoes? Can you think of something your sister or brother might want other than money that you could trade for the shoes? So for example, if you want the shoes, maybe you can give your sister or brother a nice new shirt. So this kind of trading is called bartering. Bartering is trading without money. So we have an exchange, which can deal with money, and bartering, which is trading of goods and services for a different good and service. So when you make a trade, both people should be satisfied after the trade. Why do you think so? Why don't you pause and think? Why do you think both people should be happy? You're right, because if both people are not happy, the trade isn't probably equal. So if you asked your brother or sister for the shoes and you only gave them 2 pennies, that would not be a fair trade, and your brother or sister would probably say no. So now we're going to read part of Jack and the Beanstalk. In the story, you'll see a little bit about trading and bartering. So Jack and the Beanstalk. Once upon a time, there lived a poor widow who had an only son named Jack. She was very poor, for times had been hard, and Jack was too young to work. Almost all the furniture of the little cottage had been sold to buy bread, until at last there was nothing left worth selling. Only the good cow, Milky White, remained, and she gave milk every morning, which they took to market and sold. But one sad day, Milky White gave no milk, and then things looked bad indeed. So far we know that they took the furniture of the little cottage and sold it to buy bread. So that is an example of an exchange, because it sounds like they would get money in return for the furniture and then use that money to go buy bread. But now there was nothing left worth to sell. Never mind, Mother, said Jack. We must sell Milky White. Trust me to make a good bargain. And away he went to the market. For some time he went all along very sadly, but after a little he quite recovered his spirits. I may as well ride as walk, said he. So instead of leading the cow by the halter, he jumped on her back, and so he went, whistling along till he met a butcher. Good morning, said the butcher. Good morning, sir, answered Jack. Where are you going? Said the butcher. I'm going to market to sell the cow. It's lucky I met you, said the butcher. You may save yourself the trouble of going so far. With this, he put his hand in his pocket and pulled out 5 curious-looking beans. What do you call these? He said. Beans, said Jack. Yes, said he, beans, but they're the most wonderful beans that ever were known. If you plant them overnight, by the next morning they'll grow up and reach the sky. But to save you the trouble of going all the way to market, I don't mind exchanging them for that cow of yours. So think about this question. What is the butcher asking Jack to do? You're right. He's asking Jack to exchange his cow for the beans. What kind of trade would this be? Would it just be a regular exchange, or could it be a barter? You're right, it could be a barter. However, do you think this exchange or barter is fair? Would be getting beans be something good for Jack and his mother? Think about these questions as we read. Done, cried Jack, who was so delighted with the bargain that he ran all the way home to tell his mother how lucky he had been. But oh, how disappointed the poor widow was. Off to bed with you, she cried, and she was so angry that she threw the beans out of the window into the garden. So poor Jack went to bed without any supper and cried himself to sleep. When he woke up the next morning, the room was almost dark, and Jack jumped out of bed and ran to the windows to see what was the matter. The sun was shining brightly outside, but from the ground right up beside his window there was growing a great beanstalk, which stretched up and up as far as he could see into the sky. I'll just see where it leads to, thought Jack. And with that, he stepped out of the window onto the beanstalk and began to climb upwards. He climbed up and up till after a time his mother's cottage looked a mere speck below. But at last the stalk ended and he found himself in a new and beautiful country. A little ways off there was a great castle, and a broad road leading straight up to the front gate. But what most surprised Jack was to find a beautiful maiden suddenly standing beside him. Okay, we're going to stop there. We saw a couple examples of exchange and bartering. We saw one up here when they said the furniture of the cottage has been sold to buy bread. So that is an example of an exchange because it sounds like they got money for it. And then we saw a barter between Jack and the butcher. He was giving him beans for trading or for bartering a cow. So that is two examples from this story that it talks about exchange and bartering. So let's have a couple questions to think about. Was the old man satisfied he got the cow? Yes. Was Jack satisfied that he got the magic beans? Yes, he was. When you trade, you should both be satisfied. That shows that they were both satisfied. However, was Jack's mom satisfied? Not so much. What did she want Jack to get in trade for the cow? What do you think? She wanted him to get money to be able to pay for food. But Jack and the old man traded the cow and beans. The old man bartered the beans for the cow. I'll ask more questions at the end of this video. You'll be able to tell me a little bit more about what you think the trading was like. So let's have a big takeaway of what we just learned. When you exchange one thing for another, the trade should make both people satisfied. You should not trade for something you do not want. When you trade and you don't use money, it is called a barter. So why are we learning about this? The U.S. does several trades and exchanges to gain goods and services that are not produced in our own country. So let's go over our target. I can define the term trade. We know that trading is exchanging or bartering of goods and services. I can answer and ask questions about trading and bartering. So you'll be able to complete this goal now. Please try answering the questions on Nearpod. I can't wait to see your responses. Good luck and have fun. You guys are going to do a great job, and I'm so excited that we were able to read part of a story. Please try your best on these questions, and I will be able to see all your responses on Nearpod. If you have any questions, make sure you comment below. All right, friends, thank you for learning with me, and I'll see you next time.